Hello, welcome back to the brand new session of Certified Ethical Hacking Program. So, in this session, we will discuss about the hacking methodologies and frameworks. Learning the hacking methodologies and frameworks helps ethical hackers understand the phase involved in ethical hacking attempts, or along with the tactics or techniques and procedures used by real hackers. This knowledge further helps them in strengthening the security infrastructure of their organization. In this session, we will discuss various hacking methodologies such as certified ethical hacker methodology, cyber kill chain methodology, or Me3 attack framework, and the diamond model of intrusion analysis as well. So first, we will discuss about the certified ethical hacker hacking methodology. We can also say that CHM, right? CEH hacking methodology defines the step-by-step process to perform the ethical hacking. So the CHM follows the same process as that of an attacker, and the only differences are in its hacking goals and strategies actually. So this methodology helps security professionals and ethical hackers understand the various phases followed by real hackers in order to achieve their objectives. So the understanding of CHM helps ethical hackers learn various tactics, techniques, and tools used by attackers at the various phases of hacking, which further guide them to succeed in ethical hacking process. This is a hacking process. As you can see that first of all we need to do footprinting, scanning, enumeration, vulnerability analysis, and then we will see gaining access, then escalating privileges, maintaining access, and then clearing logs. So this is the process which we need to follow. So if I just talk about the footprinting, footprinting and reconnaissance constitute the proprietary phase in which an attacker gathers as much information as possible about the target prior to the launching an attack. So in this phase, the attacker creates a profile of the target organization and obtains information such as its IP address, range, namespace, and employees, and maybe so on. So footprinting facilitates system hacking by revealing vulnerabilities. For example, the organization's websites may provide employee biographies or a personal directory, or you can say in which the hacker can use for social engineering, or it conducting a whois query on the web can provide the information about the networks and domain names associated with the specific organization. So the footprinting target range may include the target organization's clients, employees, operations, networks, and systems. Only you need to just keep a note that footprinting techniques are covered in the module number 2, footprinting and reconnaissance, in which we will just discuss about these kind of process. The second is scanning. Scanning is used to identify active host, open ports, and unnecessary services enabled on particular host. So in this phase, the attacker used the details gathered during the reconnaissance to scan the network for specific information. So scanning is a logical extension of an active reconnaissance. In fact, some experts do not differentiate scanning from active reconnaissance, right? So however, there is a slight difference in that scanning involves more in-depth probing by the attacker, and often the reconnaissance and scanning phase overlap. So, and it is not always possible to separate them, right? So again, you need to again keep a note that we will discuss about the scanning techniques will be covered, or we will discuss these kind of techniques in the module number 3, scanning networks. The next is enumeration. So enumeration involves making active connections to a target system or subjecting it to direct queries. So it is method of intrusive probing through which attacker gather the information such as network user list, routing tables, security flaws, or shared users, groups, applications, banners, and so on. Again, enumeration we will discuss about this kind of process in module number 4. The next is vulnerability analysis. So vulnerability assessment is the examination of the ability of a system or application, including its current security procedures and controls, to withstand assault, right? So it recognizes, measures, and classifies security vulnerabilities in computer systems, networks, and communication channels. So attackers perform vulnerability analysis to identify security loopholes in the target organization network, communication infrastructure, and systems. So the identified vulnerabilities are used by attacker to perform further exploitation of the target network. Again, vulnerability analysis, we are having a module, so we will discuss about this part as well. The next is system hacking, right? The next is system hacking. So you can see that the next step is gaining access, cracking password, vulnerability exploitation. So attacker follow a certain methodology to hack a system. So they first obtain the information during the footprinting, scanning, enumeration, and vulnerability analysis phases, which they then use to exploit the target system. Like the first step will be gaining access. So this is the phase in which actual hacking occurs actually, right? So the previous phase help attackers identify the security loopholes and vulnerabilities in the target organization IT assets, and then attacker use this information along with the techniques such as password cracking and the exploitation of vulnerabilities including buffer overflows to gain the access to the target organization system. And actually gaining access refers to the point at which the attacker obtains access to the operating systems or applications on a computer or network. So the hacker chances of gaining access to the targeted systems depends on several factors like such as the architecture, the configuration of the targeted system, initial level of access obtained, and so on. So once the attacker gains access to the target system, then they attempt to escalate privileges to obtain the complete control, right? So in this process they also compromise the intermediate system connected to the it. So that is the process of gaining access. The second step is escalating privileges, right? As you can see that is a escalating privileges. That is a second step in the system hacking. So after gaining access to the system using a low privileges user account, and the attacker may attempt to increase their privileges to administrator level to perform protected system operations, so they can proceed to next level of the system hacking phase, which is execution of applications, and the attackers exploits known system vulnerabilities to escalate user privileges, right? So that is known as escalating privileges. So the next step will be maintaining access. So it is refers to the phase in which the attacker attempts to the retain ownership of the system, and once an attacker gains access to the target system with admin or root level privileges, they can use both of the system and resources at will. So the attacker can either use the system as a launchpad to scan and exploit other systems or maintain a low profile and continue exploitation, or both of these actions can cause significant damage. So attackers can upload, download or manipulate the data, applications and configurations on the owned system, and also use malicious software to transfer username, passwords and any other information stored in the system. So they can maintain control over the system for a long time by closing vulnerabilities to prevent other hackers from exploiting them. And occasionally in the process the attacker may provide some degree of protection to the system from other attacks. So attackers use compromised systems to launch further attacks. And the last but not the least, that is clear logs. So to remain undetected, it is important for attackers to erase all the evidence of security compromise from the system. So to achieve this, they might modify or delete the logs in the system using certain log wiping utilities, thus removing all the evidence of their presence in that particular system, right? So that is all about the hacking methodology, or you can say the certified ethical hacker hacking methodology. So this is the nice process which we can use it. So the next thing is cyber kill chain methodology. So the cyber kill chain methodology is a component of intelligence driven defense for the identification and prevention of malicious intrusion activities. So this middle methodology helps security professionals in identifying the steps that adversaries follows in order to accomplish their goals. So the cyber kill chain is a framework developed for securing cyberspace based on concept of military kill chains, right? So this method aims to actively enhance intrusion detection and response. So the cyber kill chain is equipped with an 7-phase protection mechanism to mitigate and reduce cyber threats. And according to Lockheed Martin, cyber attacks might occur in a 7 different phases from reconnaissance to the final accomplishment of the objective. So an understanding of cyber kill chain methodology helps security professional to leverage security controls at different stages of an attack and help them to prevent the attack before it succeeds. So it also provides greater insight into the attack phases, and which will help you in understanding the adversary TTPs beforehand. So this is the this is a full steps which we can have a look into that part. So this is a reconnaissance where we can gather the information about the target organization by searching the internet or maybe through social engineering. Then we can also perform the analysis for various online activities and publicly available information. Then you can also gather the information from social network sites and web services. Then we can obtain the information about the website visited. Then we can monitor and analyze the target organization websites. We can perform who is a DNS and network footprinting. So we can also perform the scanning to identify open ports and services. Don't worry, we will also look into all these demonstrations that how we can proceed for the same process, but still as of now we are just keeping an overview, right? So basically reconnaissance, an adversary performs reconnaissance to collect as much as information about the target as possible to probe for a weak points before actual attacking. So they look for information such as publicly available information on the internet, network information or system information, and the organizational information of the target. So, by conducting reconnaissance across different network levels, the adversary can gain information such as the network blocks, specific IP addresses, and employee details as well. So, the adversary may use automated tools to obtain information such as open ports and services, vulnerabilities and applications, and login credentials, or something like that. So, these kind of information can help the adversary in gaining backdoor access to the target networks. So, that is known as reconnaissance. And the second thing is weaponization, and that is a new thing which what is this actually? So the adversary analyze the data collected in the various or you can say the previous stage to identify the vulnerabilities and techniques that can exploit and gain unauthorized access to the target organization. Based on vulnerabilities identified during analysis, and the adversary selects or create a tailored delivered malicious payload. You can say something like a remote access malware, or or remote access malware weapon or something like that. So using this kind of exploit and a backdoor to send it to the victim. So an adversary may target specific network devices, operating systems, endpoint devices, or even individual within the organization to carry out their attack. So for example, the adversary may send the phishing email to an employee of the target organization, which may include a malicious attachment such as virus or worms that, when downloaded, installs a backdoor on the systems that allow remote access to the adversary, right? So that is important stuff. So these kind of activities you can do with the weaponization. So again, you can identify appropriate malware payload based on the analysis. You can create a new malware payload, or selecting, reusing, modifying the available malware payload based on the identified vulnerability. And you can also create a phishing email campaign, or you can also leveraging exploit kits and botnets. Then third is delivery. Delivery, that is the previous stage, included creating a weapon. So its payload is transmitted to the intended victims as an email attachment, or via malicious link on websites, or through a vulnerable web applications or USB drive, something like that. So delivery is a key stage that measures the effectiveness of defense strategies implemented by the target organization based on whether the intrusion attempts of the adversary is blocked or not. So which kind of activities you can do with advisory in the delivery? So yes, you can send the phishing email to the employee of the target organization. You can distribute USB drive containing a malicious payload to employee of the target organization. Then you can also perform attack such as a watering hole on the compromised website, right? Or you can also implement the various hacking tools against the operating systems, application, and servers of the target organization. So I am taking a lot of technical terms, names, but don't worry, because we will have a long chat on these technical terms like social engineering or phishing or something like that. So next is exploitation. After the weapon is transmitted to the intended victim, exploitation triggers the adversary malicious code to exploit a vulnerability in the operating systems, application, or a server on the target system. So at this stage, the organization may face threats such as authentication and authorization attacks, arbitrary code execution, physical security threats, and security misconfiguration as well. So, you can exploit the software or hardware vulnerabilities to the gain or remote access to the target system, right? So the next point is install, or you can say installation. So, you can, the adversary downloads and installs more malicious software on the target systems to maintain the access to the targeted network for an intended period. So they may use the weapon to install a backdoor to gain access, right? So after the injection of the malicious code on once the target system, the adversary gains the capability to spread the infection to other end systems in the network. So also the adversary tries to hide the presence of malicious activities from security controls like firewalls using the various techniques such as encryption. So these kind of things which we can proceed in this particular installation. So, yep, downloading and installing malicious software such as backdoor, you can create this kind of activities in this installation. You can gain the remote access to the target system, or you can leverage various methods to keep backdoor hidden and running. And in fact, you can also maintain the access to the target system. The second last, that is command and control. So the adversary creates a command and control channel which establishes two-way communication between the victim systems and adversary controlled server to communicate and pass data back and forth. So the adversaries implement techniques such as encryption to hide the presence of such channels. Using this channel, the adversary performs remote exploitation on the target systems or network. So you can establish a two-way communication channel between the victim systems and the adversary controlled server. Then leverage channels such as web traffic, email communication, and DNS messages. You can also apply privileges, escalation techniques, or you can hide any evidence of compromise using techniques such as encryption. So that is the last point, action and objective. So the adversary controls the victim's systems from a remote location and finally accomplish their intended goals. So the adversary gains access to the confidential data, disrupt the services or network, or you can say destroys the operational capabilities of the targeted system by gaining access to its network and compromise more systems. So also the adversary may use this as a launching point of the to perform the other attack as well. So the next point is tactics, techniques, and procedures, or you can say TTPs, right? So the term tactics, techniques, and procedures refers to the pattern of activities and the methods associated with the specific threat actors or group of their threat actors, right? So these are very helpful for analyzing any threats and profiling threat actors, and can further be used to strengthen the security infrastructure of an organization, right? So organizations should understand this TTP to protect their network against threat actors and upcoming attacks. So TTPs enable the organizations to stop attacks at the initial stage, thereby protecting the network against the massive damages. So the first word, tactics. So it is described the way that the threat actor operates during the different phase of an attack. So it consists of various tactics used to gather information for initial exploitation, perform privilege escalation, and lateral movement, and deploy measure of persistence access to the system. So generally APT groups depends on a certain set of unchanging tactics, but in some cases they adopt to different circumstances and alter the way they perform their attacks. So therefore the difficulty of detecting and attributing the attacks campaign depends on the tactics used to perform the attack. The second is techniques. To launch an attack successfully, threat of actors use several techniques during its execution, and these techniques include initial exploitation, setting up, maintaining command and control channel, accessing the target infrastructure, and covering the tracks of data exfiltration. So the techniques followed by the threat actor to conduct an attack might vary, but they are mostly similar and can be used for profiling, right? So therefore, understanding the techniques used in different phases of an attack is essential to analyzing the threat group effectively. The next thing is procedure, which involve a sequence of actions performed by the threat actors to execute different steps of an attack life cycle. So the number of actions usually differs depending upon the objectives of the procedure and the APT group as well, right? Then the advanced threat actor uses advanced procedure that consist of more actions than a normal procedure to achieve the same intermediate result. So this is done mainly to increase the success rate of an attack and decrease the probability of detection by security mechanism. So this is the way that how you can discuss about, or how you can know about this tactics, techniques, and the procedures. So the next point is Mitra attack and frameworks, right? So we need to just know about this part. So basically, Mitra, ATT, and CK, or you can say attack framework. So it is a globally accessible knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques based on a real world observation. So the attack knowledge base is used as a foundation for development of specific threat models and methodologies in the private sector, in government, and in cybersecurity product and service community as well. So the Maitre attack comprises three collections of tactics and techniques and called enterprise, mobile, and pre-attack matrices as well. So as each collection is represented in the matrix of form, so attack for enterprise contains 14 categories of tactics which are derived from the later stages like exploit, control, maintain, and execute of the 7 stage cyber clean chain, right? So this provide a deeper level of granularity in describe what can occur during the intrusion. So this is, you can say, this is a pre-attack and this is enterprise attack, right? So if you are just going through the enterprise attack, so you will see the reconnaissance, resource development, and initial access as well. And in fact, you will see the execution, persistence, privileges, escalation, defense, evasion, credential access, or maybe the discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, or impact. So these kind of things which we can have in enterprise attack, right? And some military attacks for enterprise use cases, like where you can prioritize development and acquisition efforts for computer network defense capabilities, or you can conduct analysis of alternative between the network defense capabilities, and you can also determine coverage of a set of network defense capabilities. So you can describe an intrusion chain of event based on techniques used from the start to finish with common reference. So there are a lot of things, but yeah, for as of now, this is a common overview of this particular Mitre attack framework. So this is a pre-attack and this is enterprise attack. So where you can see the reconnaissance, weaponization, these are two things which we can see. This is comes into pre-attack, and the second attack, which you can say enterprise, where we can see the deliver, exploitation, control, execution, and maintenance. So these things are coming into the enterprise attacks, right? And then you can go through your next point. So the next point is diamond model of intrusion analysis. So, this is developed by the expert analyst and introduce state of the art technology for intrusion analysis. So, this model offers a framework and a set of procedures for recognizing clusters of events that are correlated on any of the systems in the organization. So the model determines the vital atomic elements that occurs in any intrusion activity, and it is referred to as the diamond event. So analyst can identify the event and connect them as activity thread for obtaining the information regarding how and what transpired during an attack. So analyst can also easily identify whether any data are required by examining the missing features. It also offers a method or route map for analyzing incidents related to any malicious activity and predict the possibility of an attack, or you can say its origin. So with the diamond model, more advanced and efficient mitigation approaches can be developed, and analytic efficiency can be increased. So this also results in cost saving for the defender and rising cost for the advisory. So the diamond event consists of four basic features: advisory, capability, infrastructure, and the victim. So this model is named so because when all the features are arranged according to the relationship between them, then it forms as a diamond shaped structure. Although it appears to be simple approach, and it is rather complex and require high expertise and skill to trace route the flow of attack. So we will have a look quickly in these four terms like advisory. So it refers to the opponent of opponent, or you can say hacker responsible for the attack event. So an advisory takes advantage of a capability against the victim to perform malicious activity for financial benefit or to damage the reputation of the victim. And the advisory can be individual, such as insiders or competitor organization. So adversaries can use many techniques to gain information, such as email address and network assets, and attempt to attack any applications used in smartphones to gain sensitive information. So the second point is victim. So the victim is target that has been exploited or in or the environment where the attack was performed. So the adversary exploits the vulnerabilities or security loopholes in the victim's infrastructure by using their resources. So the victim can be any person, organization, institution, or even the network information such as IP address, domain names, email address, and sensitive personal information of an individual. The next is capabilities. Capabilities refers to all the strategies, methods, and procedures associated with an attack. So it can also be malware or tool used by adversary against the target. Capabilities include simple and complex attacks techniques such as brute forcing and ransomware attacks as well. And last, an infrastructure, you can say. So infrastructure, it's refers to hardware or software used in network by the target that has been that has a connection with the adversary. It refers to what the adversary has used to reach the victim, and consider an organization having an email server in which all the data regarding employee email IDs and other personal details are stored. So the adversary can use server as infrastructure to perform any type of attacks by targeting a single employee. So exploiting infrastructure leads to the data leakage and data exfiltration as well. So this is all about the diamond model of intrusion analysis. So in the next session, we will discuss about the hacking concepts and different hacker classes as well.